Now, as I said, we're in the second episode of Game of Thrones for the last season, season 8.
Yeah.
And this episode in particular, I noticed that there were a couple of themes, two very strong themes in here, which, if anybody saw the teaser for this episode, you would probably be thinking the complete opposite.
When I was a child, my brother would tell me a bedtime story about the man who murdered our father. About all the things we would do to that man.
Join us in Toronto when we're there May 25th. We're going to be at the Adelaide Hall at 7 p.m. for our big live show there. First international show. Big night of comedy, games, and music, as I've been telling you. After party. Its ticket cost includes that. Support us at dtmerch.com. Always support on Double Toasted. You know, it's mainly through your support that we keep these streams going. So please keep it coming. Keep us out there if you really enjoy what we do. What you see here is sort of a reflection of what happened last week.
Yeah.
Everybody bringing in that old shit. Everybody bringing in grudges. Everybody bringing in all this messy business from, years ago. And of course, in Game of Thrones, messy things is serious because that usually involves a lot of dishonor and murder.
Definitely.
And last week, a lot of people, it was intense because we didn't know how that was going to happen with all these people not only being together, but in such tight quarters with each other. And like I said, being that this is Game of Thrones, somebody got to die.
Yeah.
Something's going to break out. However, not all around, but in this episode, I was surprised to see how, and especially in such a short amount of time, to where it didn't seem unbelievable that the theme for this, at least for me, was forgiveness and tolerance. When somebody starts to bring up something, somebody else says, remember, they got that white man at that wall over there, and he is ready to kill everyone, him and his army. They feel nothing. They want to bring darkness to the land. A lot of this shit that we got going on, we got to put it to the side. And in a very short amount of time, not only did they do that, at least for me, but as I said, they handled it in a very short amount of time, a very smooth and almost eloquent kind of way. Now, as I said, these are things that I see. I don't know if you saw these themes also. Did you sort of see what I'm talking about?
Yes, I did. I actually saw a lot of parallels to this and the Battle of Blackwater episode where before, shit hit the fan and everything got crazy, we got lots of personal, emotional beats with a lot of characters that, we've come to know and love up to this point, and I loved it.
Oh, no, this episode was a 180 for me, man. I really liked this episode. One, because the preview would lead you to believe exactly what you said, which is like, look, this is like, we're still doing this. We got 5 episodes. We ain't got time for this. But no, what they really do is they put a lot of that stuff aside. And the couple things that are lingering, because there still is a couple interpersonal stuff going on, but I understood them way more in a way that I didn't before. I'm thinking about that scene with Sansa and Dany, and I'm like, okay, well, Sansa's responsibility is to the north. She is now what her mother was when Ned was executed. Yeah. Trying to act in the best, the best, what's the word I'm looking for here? Sorry. The best,
interest.
Thank you. Oh my God. Puerto Rico's killing me, man. I only dream in Spanish now. But yeah, in the best interest of the North. And so this is one of those times where I'm like, yeah, I get it, man. They finally kind of made me understand why we're still squabbling over this, because they're planning on coming out of this alive. At least they're trying to say that outwardly. And if that's the case, what does come next?
I even thought like, okay, for the better good, they're going to be able to put this aside. There was one person that I said, no, they're going to tear this motherfucker up. And that was, I never thought it was going to go there. But for a moment, I did have my doubts. And that is about Jaime. Jaime walked in. I mean, from the moment that he came through, like everybody, like last week, it was one person just looking at another. It was like, all right, yeah, fuck you and fuck you too. It was just two people kind of looking at each other, but everybody was looking at Jaime when he walked in. Everybody was talking about how they were dreaming about it. They was like, man, I masturbate to how I was gonna kill you. I jack off to how I'm gonna hurt your ass. But but let's play a game of what if. Now, if you watch the episode, Jaime was very much in the hot seat. And when you think about it, I even think they set it up in a way to where if you look at that particular shot, This is kind of similar to where Littlefinger died, man. He died at that kind of right there at that spot.
Yeah.
And I didn't know if Arya's gonna come in and stick a knife in his ass and slit his throat, or do the Goodfellas thing and stick a pick in the back of his head. I was very I was wondering what they were gonna do with that. Of course, we know that Brienne came in and vouched for him, which felt like it was almost saving his life. Which brings me to the question of what if. Let's just play this game for a second. If she was not there at that particular moment to speak up for Jaime, I'm not going to even put in death. Just what do you think would have happened with Jaime?
Yeah, definitely. I think because we just need to recruit living people, I think Jon would have stepped in eventually and would have just brought it plain and simple like that. Listen, this is great. I'm sorry this has happened in the past. We need all the men we can get.
You can say that Jon would have stepped in, Miles, but I'll remind you that in that same scene, she refers to Jon as Warden of the North, which I thought was like a sly power move, like just reminding him where he stands in the hierarchy of power structure here. So I think it's great that Bran, stood up and I do think kind of saved his life.
With people just being as heated as they are towards Jaime, I don't think that even would have been a good thing for morale for people to see. That would have divided people even more. No ruler at that moment would have allowed that to happen. Now they may mess with him a little bit, and they mess with him good. One of the things I love about this teaser, man, and that actor who plays Jaime, I have to say, for somebody who was able to either talk, fuck, or kill his way out of any situation, and plus who has had so much confidence, and is also now an honorable person, and granted, talked some shit of his own while he was holding court in there. Just for a moment, he had some doubt on his face where it made me worried.
When I was a child, my brother would tell me a bedtime story about the man who murdered our father. About all the things we would do to that man.
Shit. Like what? You're like, do I want to hear this? He's like,
I rode 1,000 miles north for this. Holy shit.
Yeah. He's like, I thought y'all had this settled before I even got here. God damn. One of the arcs that he has going on that I find the most fascinating is his relationship with Brienne, because we see a lot of romantic and subplots going on, a lot of love stories happening within subplots here. This is one of them. There might not be like the traditional things that we see in a romantic subplot, but she feels for him, and I think he feels for her. That goes beyond just respect as knights. I mean, I think somewhere that respect has gone into love. Now, where that love is actually gone over to a romantic side, I don't know, but it definitely feels that way. Right down to, and I'm gonna pass this on to you guys, right down to the scene where Jaime's knighting her. That's a love scene.
Yeah, I always thought they set up their relationship more as a respect type of thing, but the way that they kind of nailed it with this, knighting scene, you're right. It was a love scene, and it was just such a beautiful moment just for Brienne to, achieve that and get what she wanted.
Yeah, and Christian, how do you feel about that, man?
I mean, I think it's the most honorable thing he's ever really done. I mean, even the kingslaying, right? He might have done it for honorable reasons, but it wasn't an honorable thing to do. Mm-hmm. And I think about every romantic relationship he's had, it's been incestuous, it's been, frowned upon. And this is the thing that's just born out of admiration, respect, and honor. And it's just dude, it's kind of the redeeming love story of the entire series. And in a way, and I don't know if you guys agree with this, Jaime's redemptive arc is the redemptive arc of the entire series. So yeah, man, that scene, man, it almost got me. I'm Puerto Rican. It's my birthday. I'm getting older. I'm thinking about death and shit. And get
the hell out. This man ain't even 30 yet. He's talking about death. I don't want to hear that shit. Because you're killing me, man. I'm 47. You pretty much saying I'm in the grave. I don't want to hear that shit. You see that the point you made, first of all, is how Jaime hasn't really had a healthy relationship. The person that he's not even having sex with, the person they probably never will, that's probably the closest thing that he's had to a normal romantic relationship with Brienne. And also you get to see how that contrasts against one of the comedic, I guess you would call it the comedic relief of the show in parts.
Yeah.
But what Tormund,
yeah.
you get to see how Tormund's just horny, man. Just creeping on her ass, and you contrast that with what she has with Jaime. It's almost like she's like, Jesus, I wish I could just fuck Jaime right now, get this guy off my back. But you see it, but you to see the contrast between what she has with this guy and what she has with Jaime. I think even seals that even more. Arya and the Hound, man.
Yeah.
It's just like they didn't really say they don't like each other. They at one point they definitely are. She wanted to kill him, but at this point I think and they're like, listen, it's just I don't even know if I respect you. But I'm done. And I don't even think there is a point where even within disliking each other, there's caring. Arya's hanging out with her and who's the guy with the patch on him?
Beric Dondarrion.
Yeah. And she's hanging out with them and she gets up and you're like, I want to hang out with you old assholes right here. And she gets up to leave and even Hound is like, where are you going? It's almost like there's like this, and this is what the mature thing about it. There's this reluctant respect for each other. I'm a survivor, you're a survivor. You might not like me, but I don't even really like your little ass, but I respect you.
Yeah, no, I really loved how much he opened and became vulnerable and said, I protected you, and I'm just like, wow, dude. I'm like, oh, God, I wanted to cry.
That
right
is
there.
true, man. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, no, when he just openly said it. And of course, it was cut by the comedic moments of like, well, I don't want to spend my last moments here with you.
Yeah.
But I do love how he finally opened up to her because we've seen that as the audience throughout the seasons when they traveled. Some of the best parts in season 3 and 4 of Game of Thrones, period, was their relationship.
This is the scene I wanted last week, where I thought that was a little too cheeky. You know what I'm saying? A little too like, oh, you're a stone cold bitch. Nah, man, let's not downplay the thing that we shared together. And I thought this was exactly what I was looking for, man.
Tyrion, messing up, and we know that he has the best of intentions. He is honorable. Daenerys, man, she is making me nervous. Like she's the last person I want to cross. What's his name?
Jorah.
What's that?
Jorah.
Jorah, yeah. Him coming in and persuading her to forgive him. Again, adds to the theme that we have here. But I got to say, as this series progresses along, Daenerys is really not only making me very nervous, because she seems the one that's going to be the most capable of like anything that can happen to unite people. She will be the one this throne is corrupting her, man. This infatuation with the throne. She's beginning to be somebody that I do not like. And I even said this I think maybe it was Sansa, but I don't like her. And she really did let me just say this. I don't like her, but some people say it's because she's had to be tough to deal with what she's had here. Did it make you feel any less for her how stern she was with Tyrion?
I mean, you're right. You nailed it. She's a wild card at this point. And to me, what I'm just trying to get is we saw in season 7 that she saw the threat. So why is she being so narrow-minded right now? This is the whole thing that's just infuriating with her character.
Jorah notoriously hated Tyrion in previous seasons. And even then, he's like, listen, he makes mistakes. We all make mistakes, though. And the thing is, it's better to make a mistake and learn from them. He owns them and he learns from them. So I thought that was nice. Later in the episode, Dany does seem to forgive Tyrion, wants to make sure he's around for the wars to come. That's really great. The thing with Dany and Sansa kind of got me just because it's like she tries to go in there like, it's hard out here for a pimp, right? But replace pimp with ladies. And she's like, yo, we got enough problems like dealing in a man's world without fighting with each other. But this is where I was talking about where at least I understand them. I understand why Sansa's being taking such a hard line on it because she's concerned about the North. Absolutely. And then in Dany's eyes, she's like, listen, all I've wanted my entire life was the Iron Throne. And you're saying that like I'm manipulating Jon. I'm up here fighting his war. Who manipulated whom? You know what I'm saying? So I understood both. I'm like, okay, point for them, like rebuttal. Okay, point for Dany. You know what I'm saying? So I thought the scene was really good, but you're right, man. I don't think, and we saw it at the very end because when she asked, like, so what's to become of the North? All that like, oh, hey, we're on the same team. Like, hey, girl power shit eroded away immediately, man.
She pushed her hand away. She was like, ugh. I think she's starting to look at Jon with a little spite, I don't even know if it's a spite, but I definitely think this is creeping up to be a threat to her. which a lot of people have been predicting that this is, this whole love thing that they got going on. That's not gonna, that's not only gonna turn tragic. That's gonna turn, that is gonna turn into hate for them. At some point.
Yeah, and I definitely think we're going to get one more major twist with her somehow, somewhere.
What kind of twist do you think?
I don't know. I think of, I've heard in interviews where the creator said 3 moments that shocked him in the entirety of Game of Thrones was, one, the Red Wedding. The second one was being the whole Hodor reveal. And then they said the third one is going to happen this late in the game. And I think it's going to revolve around Dany. I don't know where. And we'll have to wait and see.
With Jaime, Dany was so, again, had so much mistrust and hatred and everything. Didn't seem that hard on Theon Greyjoy. When he came in, I mean, he was, I guess maybe because he's bringing in ships now or something. But, again, has done some horrible acts, done some terrible things. But, I guess when a man gets his dick cut off, you can kind of forgive all,
Yeah.
And he's definitely, I mean, it's almost like he just has nothing to lose. And he's just saying, my life is pretty much done, at least from the way I used to live it. He's like, I'd have nothing else to do but redeem myself. I have nothing else to do but to actually try to live my life with some, what I have left with some honor. And I thought that, Sansa, was that a little too easy for her just forgiving him like she did?
No. I loved it. And it was a great contrast to showing Dany, see, put this petty shit aside, because we both know as the audience members watching Sansa and Theon go through so much together. I think in that moment, it to me, I would forgive it where it's like, yeah, I forgive you. Let's get together. Let's forgive this stuff. This is very we're near the end, and You're right. I'd rather go out making my peace with my, enemies in the past, and go out now in this battle amongst the living versus the dead.
We saw Bran speaking with Jaime, and of course, if anybody needs to be pissed off about anything, we see, and that was the look last week. Bitch, I see you. I'm here. I've been here, and I ain't forgot that yet. We thought that was going to be one grudge that was not going to able to be done or settled easily at all, which again came back to a more mature place, which I think makes you forgive Jaime. Because my whole thing was, man, can you forgive Jaime at all? I mean, for what he tried to kill a kid, but what Bran is here saying, he's like, it's almost like destiny for us, man. He's like, you would still be an asshole if you had not done what you had done.
Yeah.
And I thought that was kind of a beautiful scene between them. He's like, I would not be here probably playing a pivotal role in what we have here. And look, this is Game of Thrones. Nothing works out easy. No ask questions. We don't know why they happened, but you would not be who you are, the person that we see as this knight who's trying to be honorable at this moment. I thought that was one of the best scenes in the show, at least for me, because it really made me say, okay, now I personally can forgive Jaime. It almost gave me too easy of an out for him in a way.
Yeah.
But how do pass it on to you?
Yeah, no, definitely. No, I loved it, but I love how he had to throw that little jab in there, right? And he had to say the things we do for love because,
come on, man. He's like,
you're alive because of me, okay?
Yeah. He's like, look, we good, but I'm gonna fuck with you a little bit. I'm gonna scare you, because that's when he said that. Jaime almost felt like, oh,
and Jaime's like, huh?
The other thing I wanted to talk about is just it does kind of confirm what I said, because I believe Bran even says it, where he's like, you're not angry at me. He's like, bro, I'm a zombie, sort of. Okay, I don't have any emotions. I'm not mad at anybody, which I thought again kind of just proves that he's on some next level shit. In that same episode, I'm pretty sure Bran kind of, it reinforces how important Bran is. Bran is, in a lot of ways, the straight up antithesis of what the Night King is. He's the holder of all memory. And the Night King wants to erase the memory of this world.
Yeah.
So, again, it's like this is exactly what always needed to happen.
A lot of people are disturbed because, damn, why you make now I feel like a pervert. Why you make me look at this girl naked? We're talking about Arya Stark. She's still look. Everybody thought that they were looking. Everybody felt like a pedophile watching this. Everybody thought that they were looking at a 10-year-old girl about to make love to a 30-year-old man, and let me just say this: this girl is. We've seen her grow up, so it's
sure.
We've had that relationship with her. She's actually 22 years old at this point, but she's still got like a 11-year-old's body almost in a way.
Yeah.
Oh, and I gotta ask you, Did that look like a CG body that they put her head on?
It did. It did. It definitely looked like, it reminded me of the Cersei walk of shame thing where I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, this is definitely a double.
You were making, and of course we're talking about Gendry.
Yeah, Gendry. Yeah.
Now let me just ask you something, because with me, in my short-term memory, I don't remember what their relationship was like in the past.
Yeah.
Because for me, I'm thinking, all right, I've seen this girl grow up. Maybe it's not the same for the characters within the world. They don't see the things that we see all the time. But then you were saying something like, yeah, no, man, he knew her when she was little.
Yeah, no, that's what I was saying before the review. I'm like, guys, please, everyone, go back to season 2 and look at little 8-year-old Arya next to like 18-year-old Gendry.
Yeah.
And again, we're going with the logic of the TV show, right? Like, we know the actress is older and all that stuff, but I'm saying I really had the impression in the earlier seasons this was strictly a brother-sister relationship type of thing, right? So when this episode came out of nowhere in the beginning of, like, Gendry working hard, right? Like the hot firefighter that he is, and Arya already getting hot and bothered, I'm like, oh no, they're going to hook up. They're going to hook up. And I'm like, I don't like it.
Well,
I just didn't like it.
Look, it wasn't like he was creeping.
He
she
wasn't.
asked him, and she said, listen, I mean, come on. We all might not be around. I ain't had no dick yet. So, come on. I mean, this, if there was any time, and like I said, he wasn't, I mean, he wanted it. No, he was taking off those clothes quick, but I don't get the feeling like he was creeping. I don't even think it crossed his mind when she was around. I think it was like, okay, cool. This is where we are. She wants it. I'm not a bad guy. Does that make it any better for you? No.
No, well, here's the thing, too, and I got a crazy theory I just want to say out there for a second. I think Sansa was going to be one of the last people alive.
Yeah.
And I think her arc of her being the queen is like, oh, yeah, she definitely has become the queen, post everything that we've seen her go through.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of, poetic stuff when King Robert went around Ned saying, hey, my son and daughter, or my son, your daughter, will be joining houses together. And I thought it would have been a cool spin, although we've never seen a relationship form between Gendry and Sansa, that both of them would have been on the last one surviving, with Arya having that brother-sister relationship with Gendry.
But from a storytelling standpoint, it really kind of bothers me because I think it is season 2 or season 3. Miles probably knows better than me. They have this really emotional moment where he's going to go run off with the Brotherhood without banners. And he's just like, well, I don't have any family. And she's like, well, like, I'm your family, which one, that means how Arya views him, number one. But then he responds back with something like, no, you wouldn't be my family. You would be like my lady, but not in like a sexual way. Like in that he realizes that he is like low born and she's high born. And there was this like protective relationship that he had over her. So kind of seeing it this way, like it really kind of creeped me out, man. I get Arya. She's like, people on death row get a final meal. We about to die from zombies. Like, let me get some fucking Gendry dick. But still, it just really bothered me for some reason.
I didn't need to see this fake ass body right there. There was enough for me to like take away from that scene, seeing her shoulders, seeing maybe the a hip or something, the scars. If you want to show that, that's fine. If you want to show the, I didn't need to see no side nip and and a head floating around on her neck. That's not hers. It just seemed that seemed to really go out of their way to put that in there, and it didn't need to be there. I asked a very stupid question last week. I said, "Can Cersei be trusted?" And everybody just said, "When you're your goddamn mind, no." And I didn't even see that she was not intending it. Like I don't know why. I didn't even see that she was not intending to send an army there, which Jaime believes. Tyrion asks, "Is the baby real?" Because we know that Cersei says she's pregnant. Now that we know that she can't even be trusted more so, the baby, is it real? Or do you think Jaime's being fooled here?
Man, I don't know. See, because when they both talked about it, I'm just like, yes. I was under the camp that no, it wasn't real. It was just another plot device to kind of lie to Jaime. But when Jaime confirmed it himself, I'm thinking, well, shit, maybe it is real. I don't know.
Maybe that's because he just believes her, which we see is sort of a downfall of his. I mean, she's setting Jaime to be murdered. And Jaime doesn't know that. Jaime still trusts her.
Yeah.
So she could be playing Jaime. Jaime doesn't know that she's wanting to stick a crossbow in his back.
Yeah.
And plus, you got to think about Uncle Greyjoy last week up in there. When she had let somebody up in her like that, if she had a baby. I mean, something to think about, right?
Well, I actually kind of think that's the one reason she did, because she wants to kind of make it seem like a legitimate thing. And not that she cares necessarily about the shame, right? She was like, I'm going to fuck you out in the open and no one's going to say anything about it. But I think that's why she let Euron get up in there, is so she can at least fool that that's his kid. I think that the pregnancy is absolutely real. I think the call to change as a result from the pregnancy is complete bullshit. And that's always been her leverage, her way to kind of just continue to lie and manipulate people. So I'm firmly on the baby is real. That's where I'm landing on it.
It's not like we don't see it in Game of Thrones, but we don't see it often. Humor. And we saw a lot of humor in this episode. One of the biggest, probably for Game of Thrones, the broadest type of humor we saw here was going back to Tormund and Brienne. This whole thing of being this guy who's, into this girl that no one else is into. He's the one that sees and he's not giving up. It's a sitcom almost level humor right here. Yeah. That said, does that bother you? The writing that they do for this, are you okay with it? Does it work? And actually, these episodes are getting kind of tense now. Does it work in kind of like easing the tension?
Yeah, it just seemed like it was doing the one note over and over and over again. But, to be fair, even though he acts like every drunk frat dude that me and Miles went to college with, by the end of it, they kind of made it work for me. Because even though I was annoyed with like, okay, you're just doing the same joke over and over again, when Tormund starts he's the first dude to clap when she's knighted. You're like, all right, you won me over, Tormund. You got me back on your side. I thought you were a creepy date rapist, but I'm on your side now. I loved it. I thought it was pretty good, bro.
That was a great scene overall. The knighting scene cemented a lot of things that I didn't really see before, or was thinking about before, was questioning. Before it kind of brought it around and made it more clear. One of the biggest MVPs. She comes in and she has only about like 2 seconds, but she owns it when she does. What's her name?
Lyanna Mormont.
Yeah, man. I'm beginning to think that's a midget.
She's a badass.
That's not even a girl. That's a midget, man. The way she's coming in and running things. She is badass, man. She's punking all these dudes out. With her, not only with her authority, but with her bravery, man. Yeah, I love it when she's on screen for the little amount that she is.
Yeah. Well, out of all the interactions we got in last week's episode, this was one of the ones I wanted from last week. So I'm glad they finally gave us that 2 minutes of like Jorah, being that disgrace to their house, and Lyanna saying like, "Hey, okay, whatever, we're done with this, but yeah, I'm still definitely above you."
Yeah, man. I love that character, man.
She's another one where like she's at risk of being one note, but they use her just the right amount of time that it always works. And beyond that, the redemptive arc for Jorah, who is this stain on the house, she still obviously has respect for him. That's her cousin, which is a really good scene. I hate to steal this away from her, but I really like the next scene with Jorah too, because I feel like that's his house, so we should talk about him for a second. But Sam giving his family sword over to Jorah was another like kind of sweet moment, because he rejected that sword, his father's sword way back when, remember? Yeah. So I thought this was like a really, really great scene all around, and it's good that we literally checked in with everybody. Like everybody in the crew got a moment.
Grey Worm dead, because he had his moment where he's like, hey, you know what? After this is done, I'm retiring. Yeah. We're gonna go have a family.
Let's go to the south. Let's warm up together.
It's the cop who says, "This is my. You know what? After this one last job, I'm retiring. This is my last day before retirement. I'm gonna go out and do my beat and honey. I'll be done." And we always know where that goes.
Of course.
Yeah. You never take the victory lap, right? Mm-hmm. Like that's the rule that TV has taught us. If you take a victory lap, you're already signing your own your death certificate, so to speak. So I think Carlos is right. I think he's on the chopping block, and the other one is I think Theon 100% on the chopping block. Yeah. But that would be like a really redemptive moment. The fact that he wants to keep the Ironborn to protect Bran, right, and the Godswoods. So I was going to ask you actually, if you don't mind, like those are my two. I feel like this cannot be a beyond the wall situation. It just cannot be, because the show will lose so much credibility. This is the big battle that this show has been teasing since episode 1, essentially. So if you have to pick a couple people who are biting the dust, who do you think is on their way off the mortal coil?
I think for sure, yeah, you see that scene, because it is maybe not the best of scenes of like, hey, it's my last day on the task force, I'm going to do this job, and we'll go retire in the South. Yeah, I definitely think he's going to die. I definitely think Theon is going to die for sure, right? I think Theon dying in Winterfell, protecting Winterfell after everything he's done to Winterfell, I think it's only proper that we see him next week for sure, 100% dead.
Daenerys is going to die.
Danny's going to die.
Yeah.
Yo, bold. I was going to say there's a whole other war to be fought, right? So we still have to figure out who's going to survive the Battle of Winterfell so we can march on King's Landing. You think Dany's gone?
Yeah, I mean, she's cruel enough to where, she's getting to a point now where she is so obsessed with this throne. I don't even see her being effective later unless she has some sort of redemption at some point.
Yeah, and this is why, Corey, if I may, I have to ask Christian, what did you think was the importance of Sam giving Jorah that Valyrian steel blade? Because they harpered on it for a while, and this is the whole thing Carlos was rambling to me about, was this Azor Ahai prophecy of maybe Jorah somehow backstabbing and killing Dany, right? That would be something that no one would see, considering we've seen Mr. Friendzone in that spot since season 1.
If Jorah somehow turns on Dany, they need to do one hell of a job. Prove to me that she deserves it.
No, you make great sense. I heard Carlos talking about that, and I didn't think that was going to happen at all, unless, like we say, she gets so somewhat corrupted or turns around to where she's a danger and he's the one that feels like he has to do it because he cares for her so much.
The story of the Night King, at least in my estimation, is probably going to wrap up next week, which is like crazy. And then we have 3 more episodes to fight the war between the kingdoms. And I think if Dany goes down in the Battle of Winterfell, Jon doesn't want that, so who would march on it if not Dany still being alive?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely, and that's why that whole thing with Jorah was it's a little. I think it's too bookish for this show, because you're right, Corey. A lot of people would be like, "Wait, where is any of this coming from?" There's lots of things that when Jon confessed to Dany about the whole, truth from last week.
That's the biggest thing that we got to touch on, like for the last part right here.
Okay, cool. Okay,
please, go ahead.
Okay. Well, that's the thing. I mean, Dany's like, well, then that means you got a bigger claim than me, and we ain't having that. So you're right. It's too obvious now that Dany's one goal right now is this seat that will not matter if the living will win, and that's why I was just so heartbroken when Sansa just directly asked what's going to happen after this battle once we live, which I love Sansa just knowing no the living is going to come out on top, but can the North just be their own dependent thing? I really wish Dany would have became the bigger person in that moment and be like, okay, I see that you care for it that much, then yes.
Well, hearing that wasn't like, oh my God, this is incestuous. We can't be in love anymore. She's like, wait a minute, you got claim to this shit too? Yeah. You're like, nah, I'm not having this. But maybe Jon doesn't know the level she's at with this claim to the throne.
Yeah, man. I think that this is obviously it's not going to end well. I don't think Dany's going to be the bigger person, because we've seen repeatedly that she's not been the bigger person. Miles just said it. Like, the smart thing to do, you want to secure your victory. You want to secure the North's fealty to you during the War of the Crown, right? To get the Iron Throne. Yeah. Then you give them what they want. And it just reminds me of like a really bad politician, but who has the dopest like PR team, like people who keep her going somehow in the polls, even though she's inept, because she keeps making the wrong decisions. And I think this was just another one. And now there's this other, monkey wrench in the whole equation, which is like, yeah, he's got a more legitimate throne, but he doesn't want the throne. And it's weird that he didn't say that to her either. So we're going to see how this all plays out, man. But nothing good's coming in these last 4 episodes.
We're definitely seeing the seeds of the bitter, well, they say they're going to have, this is probably going to come to a bittersweet conclusion. We're definitely seeing the seeds of that now. Thanks for watching, everyone. I pray that you hit that subscribe button. And if you really love what we do, check out our main site, doubletoasted.com. Over there, you'll find a longer, uncensored version of this video. Also, the live streams that we do almost every night of the week. Support us at dtmerch.com. And remember to always stay toasty.